Good evening and welcome to The Caring View, the online social care chat show available on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, every Tuesday at 7:30. Before we get started, the views we express tonight are of our own and not our respective companies. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook or on LinkedIn, drop us a follow, connect with us, and follow us on our podcast as well, available on all major podcasting sites. Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Yes, not too bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like I've just emerged from like a 3-series sort of dramatic end of the world, everything's changing scenario. I feel like as a millennial, because I'm sure we tick the millennial brackets, we seem to be every day living through a life-changing event, and everything's just so bizarre. And this last 10 days has just been, no matter what side of the fence you sit on, it's just been a bizarre, incredible experience. And I'm just a little lost now.
It is, and it's almost like it's just yesterday was the funeral. It's almost like just back to normal and pick yourself up and carry on. But yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's because the media are obviously talking about the number of days of mourning, but then I was I remember driving to work, it must have been Thursday or Friday, and I was like, when France or Spain or somewhere talk about a day of mourning, like nobody's out, like everybody is at home, and they're talking about like this 10-day of mourning, but we're all out and about working as if nothing's happened. But yeah, it's very bizarre, very bizarre.
I think the most annoying thing for me on things are, and again, it's very sad whenever we lose anybody, and for whatever we think about them, she did her duty and was around. It's been like forever. I mean, I've got a ruler on my desk that my mum had when she was in school, and people probably have this. It's one of them England heritage rulers, and it's a ruler of rulers. So it's had all of our rulers on, and my mum used this when she was in school, and I still use it today, and it's finally out of date. Elizabeth II was the final monarch on it, and she's always been there, literally always been there. So it depends on, everything that's going on. I got annoyed at everything getting cancelled. I got annoyed at people having to wait for extra time for funerals and food banks. But the thing that's annoyed me the most is all of this talk about cancelling the social care levy has just gone whoosh, completely under the radar, masked by what's been 10 days of complete news propaganda takeover. All the usual stuff we've not been really hearing about, who have said that the pandemic's almost coming to an end. Apparently, the war's still going on in Ukraine. And all of a sudden, we've got a new prime minister who thinks she's benefited by us putting a cap on the energy prices, but also announcing that she's going to get rid of the social care levy. And I don't know how to feel about it. I feel like we should be mourning, but I also feel like we should be going, social care, come on, we can't forget. It can't wait. What are we going to do? What's all this reform? How is it going to happen if we're not getting that money coming through?
Yeah, I must admit, a lot of the news, like you said, has slipped under the radar. I think she's announced, is it £500 million that she's going to take from the NHS to give to social care, alongside scrapping the health and social care levy. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what her plan is, how that's going to kind of pan out in the long run. Because
500 million though is a piddle in the ocean. It's an
it might be more than that. I'll have a look in the background, but.
I mean, they planned 500 million just for 3 years worth of workforce and development in the leadership side of things. We were supposed to be getting 5.6 billion. But how we're going to siphon that from the NHS to bring in social care once they've just given all NHS employees this massive pay rise, I don't know whether the math just doesn't math for me. I think she needs a calculator. I think the whole government need to just stop playing best friends and holding each other's you-know-whats in the urinals and actually getting some bloody work done, if you ask me. So, why weren't we on last week? Care Sector's Got Talent was postponed. It is going to come back beginning of October, I think. For anyone who's going to the Leadership and Insight Awards, I know they will be performing there, and I'm probably going to see them at the Care Show as well, which we were going to be at, Mark, on the second day, I think. But other than that, I don't really... Oh, we do have news. Mark, do you want to tell people our news?
Yes, although you're going to drop me in it because I'm in the background looking for what Liz Truss is doing in the background of the NHS about how much money she's given. Yes, we have been nominated for an award, and now you're really going to stump me because I'm not going to remember what the name of the award is. Do you remember off the top of your head?
It's something like care communication provider, isn't it?
It is, yes. So, yeah, no, I think it's really good that we've been recognised, and I'm pleased that we've been recognised. It's been just over a year, and we started the Caring View because we wanted just to kind of share knowledge and raise awareness of the sector and kind of bits and pieces that are going on. So, and I think it's always been free. Everything we do is kind of off of our own backs, behind the scenes, and yeah, it's nice just to have that kind of recognition for it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I will continue to have my cathartic outbursts about anything and everything until people tell me to start shutting up. So I do apologize. As always, I'm highly opinionated and I'm not really that sorry. So tonight we are talking about marketing, all about marketing, best top tips. And we have joining us the master, the maestro, the sensei of marketing themselves, Alfie Bo. No, it's Alfie Jones. Don't get yourselves excited.
Sensei.
Oh, what's it all about, Alfie?
Oh, wow. Oh, it's been ages since anyone said that to me. Like, do you know that? Cilla Black's like, no, wrong generation, millennial again. What's it all about? Yeah.
Stiller. It's been ages since you've been on our show. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I was saying before, like I've been fasting, and food never tastes as good as when you've not eaten for like 48 hours. It's just I had an apple, and it was the best apple I've eaten in my entire life. It's been good, but I get really grumpy when I have to warn people when I fast. I just steer clear for a little bit. So you've got me on the good end of it.
Apples are bizarre because like apples are good crunchy but awful soft. But I hate crunchy pears, but I love soft pears. But they both seem like they should be the same type of fruit. It's very odd.
Well, I had a bapple, not a bapple, yeah, a papple today, a pear apple.
There's loads
they
of those,
exist.
There.
They exist, apparently. I'd never heard of them. It was delicious.
It's like you can get pineapple flavoured strawberries, can't you now?
What?
Yeah, Marks and Spencer's, is it? It's either Marks and Spencer's, Aldi, or Lidl, one of them. Yeah, there's loads of them. They're just coming up with all these concoctions. But they are really good.
Candy Plus flavoured grapes.
Yeah, I've seen them.
They're amazing. They're just like sweets, but they're like one of your 5 a day. It's great.
What I find incredible is we've got poverty all around the world, including our own country, and yet we can GMO foods taste like other foods for the fun of it. Let's not get into.
It's mad. Once you start going down that road, yeah.
So, Alfie, for people who don't know you, give yourself an introduction. Tell them who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Oh, go on then. Right. So I'm Alfie Jones. I'm the MD of Kahoot Care Marketing. We just work with the care sector to provide sort of marketing in general. So websites, social media, video, content marketing, brand, logo, design, the whole lot. And we niche in the sector a few years ago. I've worked in the sector a while. I've been a frontline carer only for about 9 months. And my folks used to run a care training business. So I got into the world of care by helping them sort of being their IT person, really, and just setting up for presentations. And they did all the kind of dolls and dementia training and mental capacity act and that kind of stuff. So, that's kind of me and where I am. And I'm kind of a bit of a marketing geek. So I'm a little bit obsessed with it. And it's a kind of weird obsession. Most people are a little bit allergic to marketing, and I had a bit of a strange route into marketing. So I was working as a salesperson for a dental website company selling dental websites to dentists about probably about 10 years ago now. And I got really kind of into the marketing side, and I just kept on digging deeper and deeper and deeper, because websites don't necessarily mean marketing. They're not the same thing. And what I discovered, there's a big thing. Most web designers you will actually speak to, well, this is a huge generalization. There are some out there that know this, but web designers don't know marketing. It's a totally different discipline, and people go and they expect web design anyway. So I went on this whole trip and spent a load of time and a ridiculous amount of money going on courses and learning marketing. And I think it's a superpower. A lot of people it gets lumped into the same category as kind of this kind of marketing and sales stuff. Is the stuff that we don't really want to touch. It's kind of a bit like the devil's work, and it's kind of a bit black magic, but it's not. It's, if anything, it's a superpower and it's a science. And And it's really exciting for me to be able to kind of to have learned what I've learned and then to share it in this sector with people that need to kind of connect. And I think it's also recruitment as well. So people don't realize that marketing and recruitment are the same thing. You have to run through the same principles. You have to have a strategy for both. You have to choose channels for both. And often recruitment gets lumped in with sort of HR, and the HR department of a care business might not have any clue about marketing. And so it's a completely different skill set that's required, but it is absolutely a sort of step-by-step science. So yeah, it's part of our mission to kind of empower the sector through sharing as much as we know for free. And obviously we're a business and we sell stuff, but a huge part of what we do is about just telling people the truth about marketing. It's not sort of witchcraft. It's not this weird sort of dark art. It's very practical, very sort of step-by-step. And my mission is to make it accessible and simple. And yeah, mostly I think I do that. I think if I ever use a word that you don't understand, like slap me on the wrist digitally and like get me to explain it, because this is exactly what I want to be doing. I want to be sharing it and making it really accessible, because it's not complicated. It's knowing where to focus your time and energy is a big headache. Like social media, there's your website and video and content and paid ads, and it's just this overwhelming thing, and leaflets and shows. And how do you focus your energy, especially if you're a sort of SME size provider? Like, how do you choose what to do? So part of what I like to do is try and take the guesswork out of it for people, to make it this, instead of this overwhelming, impossible task, make it something that is actually that, yeah, anyone can do this. It's a step-by-step, and it's not necessarily easy, but it is sort of straightforward in a way. It's not necessarily like easy work. You've got to get your head around it, but it's not overwhelming.
So you spoke about a lot of providers have it lumped in kind of with HR. From what I've seen, and I know from kind of my experience when I was managing care services, it was always lumped in with a registered manager's role. And I don't know, Adam, whether you found the same when you were managing. It'd be kind of one of those afterthoughts, and they'd be like, oh, who can do it? Who's already on social media? Oh, let's choose the registered manager. Or I'll find a care worker or a senior that's got a spare few hours in the day and they can just do bits and pieces. So for anybody that's not doing marketing or is actually watching tonight thinking actually need to do better at our marketing, you said it's obviously a step-by-step process. Where would you advise people to start?
Absolutely. I'll answer that in a second. Just to say as well, like it gets lumped with the registered manager. Now, I have a team of 30 people that do all different things. If I don't know about paid ads marketing, for example, it's not only is marketing a discipline, there are multi-disciplines within it. So it helps to have at least a bit of knowledge in every space, and you can't have everything in one place through one person. That's something to say. To get started, the step that almost every organization misses, and this is in care and outside of the care sector, is branding. And I remember working in sales and marketing, and I used to think branding was a load of rubbish. Like, I used to think it's just like, it's kind of like all this kind of like board meetings and execs. Let's talk about our brand. It's this kind of like bit sort of, I don't know, wanky. It's not really like, nobody really cares about brand. It's like, but actually I've come to learn in my experience that you ignore brand at your peril. And it is the most valuable part of any marketing activity you do, not least because it involves a part which is really figuring out who it is that you're targeting. And everyone thinks they know they're targeting. It's usually sort of the, the dual through the person needing care more often than not, 8% of the time. And people think they've got this good idea in their head of who it is, but have they really reviewed that in the last couple of years? Do they know their processes? Is their information shareable on WhatsApp so they can share it with their family or WhatsApp groups? All of this stuff, like just through the process of putting yourself in the shoes of your ideal client or your ideal recruit. The landscape's changed as well for carers. It's a much more picky market. It's a job seekers market. It's completely flipped now. Employers have to work much harder. If you don't put yourself in the shoes of your potential employees, you're not going to be able to break through. So there's a sort of 3-step process. One is figure out who it is you're targeting. So get really clear on the who. And then the second step is what's your message? So yeah, if you know who you're targeting, you're targeting recruits, and you may be looking for your 50 to 65-year-old active retiree carer potentially, but they're not going to be on Indeed. What's the message that you're going to say to them? So the second part is the key message. And the message for them is going to be different from somebody who's maybe 20, 25 coming into care. They're not, if they're sort of 50 to 65, they're probably less interested in career. They don't want kind of the word career and training will put them right off. They're going to be more interested in being active in the community, finding connections. So the language that you use in the message has to be slightly tailored to each person. So you need to know exactly who you're targeting, and there might be a range, especially for recruitment. And then you need to know exactly what your message is. The magic of working out those two things, and there's all kind of brand workshops and processes you can do to do this, but you do those two bits, and then it becomes really easy to tell, okay, so what channels do we use? Do we use social media? Do we use Indeed? So for example, just by knowing that your 50 to 65 plus year old, 50 to 65 year old carer, they're not going to be on Indeed. They're going to be face-to-face. You have to reach out and find them in the community because they're passive job seekers, not active job seekers. You'll know, like Facebook's probably possible. It's probably one of the things you'll use, but the main thing is probably going to be, how do we get in front of them in person? What community events can we be at? Maybe we can put on ads on church notice boards. Where can I go they're going to be? And then the marketing does itself. But if you're sat trying to figure out, okay, well, we need more recruits or we need more clients, and you don't have those two things in front of you, you don't have the persona and so I sort of say persona, it's like a cartoon character, ideal client or ideal recruit that you build. And you can do this in different workshops. And the message, if you don't have those two things, it can be like, oh, I don't know where to start. Like, we'll just put more money into Indeed. And it doesn't work. But if you've got those two, then it becomes clear what channels to use, what's going to change. And then when you look through your website, you look through your copy and your pictures and everything, you can sit in the shoes of your ideal client or ideal recruit and read what you've written and think, would I apply for that job? Or would I want to work for this organization, or come or trust the care of my relative to this organization? And through that perspective, you can check, and the message as well. So you can read through all your text and go, does this align with the message that we're trying to get across? Are we talking about the things that matter? If they're primarily bothered about peace of mind, why are we talking about feeding pegs? So it's a real sort of thinking of putting yourself in the other person's shoes, which some people can do really well. But if you have those two things in front of you all the time, it makes your marketing a lot easier. So that's the science of it. That's the place to start, is with brand. And it's not particularly sort of exciting or sexy, but it's really important.
I mean, people tell me off for saying, let's sexify care. I think everything's sexy in care. I think, we are some sort of 50 shades of care. There is something around social care that actually is super important. So basically, I need to advertise for my care home or my home care agency. We cover a variety of age groups. I have loads to do. I've got loads on. So I'm going to put together, Mark and I love the C word, but I'm going to go with another one tonight, which is co-production. And we think to ourselves, actually, it's going to be wiser to get the relatives and the people that we already support together to figure out how we're going to market moving forwards. What drew them into us and what is it they want to see from us? And actually, we can use them to create a marketing campaign directed at the people we actually need.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And this is useful to do whether you're working on your branding or not. Just ask your clients why they chose you. And for recruitment, ask your staff why they work for you, and get them to think about it. Like, why are they working for you? Why did they stay? What are the things that make you different enough from somebody down the road that they would stay and work? And it's little nuanced things. You're trying to find something, and this is something you need to consider when you consider your message as well, because you never want to be in a position where you're literally competing on price or competing on an hourly rate for someone down the road. What makes you stand apart? If you can't verbalize that in about 30 seconds concisely, you don't have any marketing. You don't have it. There's nothing there. And if you literally can't think of anything that you do differently that sets you apart from the care organization down the road, that's your biggest problem, not your marketing, but your biggest problem is there's nothing that differentiates you. And it might be just that, you run a care home and you have a sensory room, and none of the other care homes near you have a sensory room, and you can sort of talk about that. And maybe you pick one or two of the strands that you do better than anybody else. But your message really has to make you stand out, because it's a crowded marketplace, especially in the jobs marketplace. I see so many Indeed ads, and they're just like, we need you to do this. You need to be flexible. You need to, for home care, you need to have a car. And it's just, we need this from you. And people don't, and then the best ads that actually get read are the ones that say, are you looking for meaningful work? Are you looking to engage more with your community and get paid for it? It's like, it's just a different way, it's a different approach and different language that you use. I call it you, your, yours language, where you're just talking about them and about the features and benefits to them. And then at the end, you've got to say, okay, and you must have this, this, and this, but you have to try and stand out. And that's what a lot of people miss. And I think it's not a case that everybody's trying to compete with each other. If the whole sector did this, if recruitment increased its practice across the whole sector, there would just be more people in care. And that's sort of easy for me to say. But I really do believe that. And the companies that I know that I work with that have got this right, they never struggle to recruit. They don't have a problem with recruitment, even in a in a crisis like this. And I do think there's people working in sort of Next and in retail and in hospitality that should be working in care. There's people out there who are not satisfied, they're not fulfilled in their job, and they would be as a frontline carer. But they don't know that, care's got a bad sort of, the marketing of care itself. This is something that I'd love to work on with some people sometime. But yeah, because carers are superheroes. They do, and it's an incredibly skilled job, incredibly tactile. I did it for 9 months, and that gave me the utmost respect for anybody working on the front line in care, because it's hard, it's relentless, it's emotionally challenging. And you just keep doing it every single, you somehow have to find the resilience, even if you're tired. Like if I have a bad day, I'll sit, I can be in my pajamas and just kind of just about tick along from behind a screen. But you have to be, because you're person facing all the time, you have to be on. And it's incredible. And we need to find a way to celebrate that in a way that makes people think, yeah, this is, like the way that people respect the NHS. And this is, I know that you both campaign about this, like the NHS gets huge kudos, but what about the care sector? People are doing incredible things every single day, the everyday miracles that happen because people turn up and they care and they so I think there's something to be said about trying to present the sector to people in a way that puts the best foot forward.
100% agree with everything you just said about frontline care staff. Listening to you talk about choosing an area, like a niche area that you do well or something that you've got, is there ever, and I'll give an example, in your opinion, is there ever such a thing as bad marketing? So listening to you talk about kind of your unique area, your USP. I remember when I was managing a care home and it was for learning disabilities, but we somehow, I think it's because I had one person that we supported that had dementia, and I just treated him exactly the same as everybody else, even though it was advanced dementia, had the same opportunities, took positive risks, and we just kind of treated him as a person. We never saw the dementia or the learning disability. And we ended up picking up a prestigious dementia award. So we obviously marketed that, look at the award we've won, blah, blah, blah. But the amount of referrals that we had then from elderly, non-learning disability, wanting to place their loved one into care, I would say far outweighed probably any number of referral that we ever had into that care home in its history for people living with a learning disability. And then it was really hard to explain to people, actually, no, it's the home's for people with a learning disability, but yes, we do have people with dementia, but they've got to have the learning disability alongside that. Would you ever say there's such a thing as bad marketing?
That's really interesting. I'm curious to know, in amongst all that kind of chatter that was generated from that, did you actually pick up more attention? Did you attract more carers through that? Was there more of a buzz in a noticeable way, or do you think there might be gone under the radar?
I think definitely for the local community, it did a lot of awareness because the local press picked it up. So then they ran the article and it went on to kind of their social media pages, and off the back of that, whether it was positive as a whole, because when I look back, obviously I was very vocal that I didn't feel like we should have won it. We weren't a dementia service. We were just supporting somebody, to live their best life. And I do remember reading comments, and I kind of fully agreed with them that actually, why were we winning it and wasn't the learning disability? Why wasn't the dementia home that was like 3-4 doors down? Why didn't they win it for the work that they were doing? So I think there was kind of that awareness, which was great for us, but there was also the kind of subtle undertone of actually they shouldn't have won it. Should have been a dementia service?
That's really interesting. And I think probably on balance, I don't know. Do you feel that on balance it was, although you had to deal with the kind of confusion of it, do you feel on balance it probably helped to spread awareness of the company? Or
It definitely helped. We didn't have a recruitment problem, and it definitely wasn't obviously like it is now in the market. I think it was amazing for the staff that had worked so intensely with this person to kind of make those dreams and kind of goals and aspirations happen. Yeah, I don't know. I still, in my mind, still don't feel that a learning disability home should have won it. It should have been a dementia specialist service that markets themselves as a dementia specialist service that should have won. But not saying that a learning disability service shouldn't, but in my eyes, it should have been a dementia winning a dementia award.
You're so gracious, Mark. I love it.
It'd be no different than, I don't know, if I just won, I don't know, Chinese Man of the Year or something when I'm not actually Chinese, you know. It just
it felt a little bit
win an award that you're not actually in the market for, you know. It's a bit like Adam and I have been asked to speak about menopause and things, but actually we're not going through menopause. So how can we comment on menopause? Actually go and get a female that can talk to you about menopause and actually give you a real insight. I do think that's, go on.
I was just gonna say, I think that's important. It speaks real leagues about your character as well. But from a marketing perspective, I think there is such a thing as bad marketing. To go back to your initial question, I don't think that example will have hurt you in any way at all. I think, you know, obviously, personally, you felt it was a bit weird, and maybe there was some kind of some kind of weird sort of thing going on there where it should have actually considered people that are more into that. But also, you know, you've won the award, like you said, it was a kudos to your staff. It's then something which you can then place front of house on your marketing, and so, you know, as part of what you do, you just say, you know, not at the front, but maybe as part of what you do, you can say you won this award, even if you think you shouldn't have necessarily won it. But I think that marketing can be bad. I think things like when
marketing on stuff like that. Sorry to interrupt. Just to run on Mark's example, because I think it's important for people who are potentially coming out of the pandemic and going, actually, now's the time for me to start applying for awards. Now's the time for me to start getting this attention. There has to be some sort of control over the story that gets put out. And I think, you know, if you are going to be marketing, and please tell me if I'm wrong, Alfie, but I would actually write my press releases and send them out to people to control the narrative that actually went there, because you give the reporter free rein and you've all of a sudden gone from a dementia home to a care home down the road, and you lose that USP. You've gone from a learning disability supported living accommodation to a care home. You know, you become a health and social care service and not a social care service. So when it comes to marketing our own events, how much input do you reckon we should have in third-party marketers and the story they're telling?
Yeah, as much control as possible. Even if you outsource to other people to do your marketing, like a lot of care providers do with us, we spend hours talking to them, getting to the root of it, and making sure that we understand their story, their background, their brand, what makes them different. Sometimes helping them figure out their message, and it is really important to have that control. And at the same time, if you've got your message sorted and everything else is saying we do X, you know, we are an LD home, and you've got all this press and it's attracting the wrong kind of clients, if your message is correct and it's everywhere and you're doing the right things, it will kind of filter some of that out anyway. But yeah, it's interesting. I think bad marketing, setting up a social media account and not doing anything with it looks terrible. As I say this, I've just got this little voice in the back of my mind saying, I think we paused our social media a couple of months ago and we haven't done anything on it. But yeah, that's because we're focused on some of the bits at the minute, redoing our own branding and website. But that's embarrassing. But anyway, social media, having a social media account that isn't active it's not going to look great. Google reviews, not replying to Google reviews, or when you get a bad Google review, not sort of nipping it in the bud, ringing them up, trying to find out, responding to it if you can't get them to take it down. This is really basic stuff that it's the first thing that people will see as well. Like if somebody Googles you, or if somebody looks for you, or does a direct brand search, or hears about you through word of mouth, like word of mouth is happening online now. So the first thing people are going to see is not your website, it's your Google My Business thing, that little panel that appears next to direct searches for your brand name. And loads of people, like loads of organizations that are quite big, they've got like 2.5 stars. It's like, and no responses to any of their commentary. And it's like, this is terrible optics, you know. And I know these services aren't bad. You know, it's people only go to Google reviews when they want to complain, unless you ask people, can you please leave us a review, so people can know about what we do and why you like us. So yeah, I think there is bad marketing.
Sorry, just jumping in with Google reviews. So I've not used it for a few years. Back in the day when I used to ask people to review us, good or bad, you used to have a Google account to then leave the review, which used to put a lot of people off, especially kind of the older generation that didn't want a separate email address to. Is that still the case? Do you still need to have a separate Gmail account or Google account to be able to do that?
You do. And it's the case, it's the case for everyone. So it's the same barrier for everyone. However, I think we're reaching a point now where at least the children of the people requiring care, they will have a Google account, or they'll be savvy enough, if you support them, to set one up. It can be a pain, you know, you're trying to deliver care, you're trying to connect with people, and it's not the first thing that comes out of your mouth. But if you can get I'd say more than 50% of people have a Google account. And for those that don't, if they really want to leave you a review, they'll find a way. And I think it's not that complex a process. So I could do it now in 2 minutes and show you, but it's about making that.
Should we time you? Set the timer. I used to send out a step-by-step guide for how to set up a Google account, so that people that didn't have it, because obviously I was supporting people kind of in their 50s, so obviously their next of kin were kind of in the 60s, 70s. So I used to do a step-by-step guide. But I used to say to them, come into the care home and I'll support you to set one up. I don't need to know your password or anything, but I'll talk you through the process. We'll do it. You can choose your password. I'll look away or leave the room or whatever, and you can take that away and log in at home and leave the review later down the line. But
I suppose you can, with anything, you can look at things in kill two birds with one stone and all of that, or a vegan alternative saying for those who don't want to kill birds with stones. But you could have set up in your organization a Google Drive. And I know this sounds really complicated, but a Google Drive of your policies, a Google Drive of your documents, a Google Drive of your newsletters, anything you want in that Google Drive. And you can say to families, look, we will send you a hard copy. We will print one out for you. We will do this. We will do that. However, if you want to sign up to Google, we will just send you the Google link to the drive, and you can access everything that's in there. Oh, and by the way, if you want to submit a Google review, you can do here. And they automatically then have that Google account. So then it's less of a please sign up and rate us. It's here's all this information that we're making available to you. This is the accessibility we're giving you. We'll even set you up your own little memory book folder if you want, and we can share photos and stuff via it like that. Make it enticing and make it interesting to them that actually it's worth the investment. Oh, and by the way, you can tell us how good we're doing or if we're actually missing out on something. But if we are missing out, please let us know first, because we'd love to make things better for you. Sugarcoat it. I know that sounds like it's being deceptive, but it is that sort of use it to your advantage. Advance yourselves forward doing it.
I've literally just set up a Google account while we're talking, so it's like less than a minute. But it is. You can automate this stuff. You can automate it so that when somebody says anything nice about you, you just message someone in your team who's on it, he pushes a button, it goes out to them and tells them, here's how you leave a review. If you don't have a Google account, here's how to set one up. And videos, like if people can get comfortable recording videos, and God, it's having recorded recorded videos for you, Adam, it's very different from doing live webinars. It can be, and I'm kind of getting used to having my face on the screen and listening to myself back. It can be a bit of a barrier to do it, but if you can automate it, record a video saying, hey, thanks for the feedback, here's a process, and just overlay it, time saver. It's like having an extra member of staff that's just there promoting you. So but it's the willingness to be on camera, I think, is probably going to be the biggest barrier for any of that. But you get somebody in place who's happy to do it. Oh, and with recruitment as well. So this is something that I've been talking about with York, who everybody knows in the sector because he's amazing. Just like getting a video sorted that just says, somebody makes an inquiry with you, and you're busy. Maybe you send them a message back or an email, and then the interview's 5 days away, and in the meantime they're gone. Someone else has hired them. And how easy is it to, what's your number? Okay, do you mind me sending you a WhatsApp? Okay, WhatsApp message with company phone. Like, Hi, it's Sue here. I'm so happy that I got your application. I'm really happy to hear from you. We'd love to chat to you. I cannot wait. It's on Tuesday at this time. Let us know if you've got any questions in the meantime. We're really excited to see you. And it's like, all of a sudden, it's like this cold email they don't know, and they got a job offer from somebody else, and they take it to, oh wait, I'm just going to check in because that sounded really good. Somebody's gone to the bother of sending me a personalized email, and it takes 30 seconds out of someone's day. Again, the challenge is just, prepping whoever it is, or if you're the HR manager, if you're the recruitment manager, just being comfortable with sort of recording a 30-second video or even a voice note if you don't like videos. But it just makes it personalized. It makes the connection. And that's what keeps people in the funnel for your recruitment. Otherwise, people will just fall out and go somewhere else because they'll be like care, or they might get a job in a supermarket and like, okay, well, my friend's working there, and and that can be it. You've lost somebody that easily.
I mean, that brings me quite nicely round to acronyms or contraction, whatever we want. I think there's a rule around what's an acronym and what's not. I think it's whether you spell it out phonetically or say it all in one. So WOM or WOM, so word of mouth. I mean, we've already touched on USP. What's your unique selling point? And if we had longer, I'd probably want to go into saying, our proposition statement still important? Do we need to be looking at that alongside a mission statement and values? But let's come to word of mouth then. So in this world of digitalness, where everything is TikToking and Facebooking and Twittering and Telegramming and Instagramming and, all of that, how important is this word of mouth? Because you've just said, someone's applied for a job and it takes you 5 days to get back to them. How many people are they going to go out and say, oh, don't go apply for them because they're not going to talk to you. So how do we battle word of mouth whilst also trying to juggle the digital marketing side of things?
So, I mean, if you ask any care business how they've grown or where they've, even now, if they've just been operating in the last 2 years or during the pandemic, what's the most important factor in any of your marketing recruitment? It's always word of mouth. It is the most powerful thing that you can have for your business. Sorry, I live on I don't know if you can hear the airplane going over. I've got my window open. The most important thing is word of mouth, but what people don't realize as much now is how much it happens online. And even somebody that's just, oh yeah, by the way, there's this company over here, they were really great. They were absolutely on it with mum, and yeah, go and talk to them. The first thing they'll probably do is go to the website. So they might get a phone number, they might get a web address, but one of the first things they do is going to look on Google. First of all, they see your Google reviews, they'll see your Google My Business. So if that's not in order, if you've got outdated details that you're sunk, and they'll go to your website. And that kind of the word of mouth that they'll see is the Google reviews. It is it's the testimonials that you stick on the website to show social proof. And, it may be like 50, 60, 70% the referral and the strength of that referral, but also you don't know what else is going on. You don't know what other they've been referred to. You don't know what other pools they're sort of researching in. You might miss it on an edge because, you've not updated your website in 5 years. It's a very thin margin that we're sort of operating on, or the care providers are operating on at the minute. You need to have everything in order, and it's not magic. It's not a dark art. It is a science. If you know what makes you different, and you know your message, and you know who you're targeting, and your website and your Google reviews are in place, and you've got a sort of momentum with it, and your culture is good internally with this stuff, and when people say thank you so much, you don't respond with that's great, thanks for the feedback, we love having good feedback, but you say best way you can say thanks to us is to sort of leave us a review so other people can hear about us. If you build that in, all of a sudden you're winning, and you don't even need to stress about it, and you're recruiting, and you don't really need to force it. But it is for some companies, it is a huge culture shift to kind of think more about. So, and most people just like, marketing is something that's sort of, it's over there, it's something other people can do, it's sort of, I don't understand it, it's overwhelming, there's too much of it, but actually it has to be part of the culture, and it can be really easy if it's talked about in the way that you understand that we need to promote ourselves. So obviously if we're going to make a video, is everyone excited about that? No, because we don't want to be on our face on camera, but you understand the importance of it. Yes, okay, and people get excited about it. Could you leave us reviews for the same reason? Like, just leave us a review on Google. Tell other people what it's like to work here. And no one does it. No one does it. I'd like 50 care providers I could pull up on Google My Business accounts, and I could look at it, and there's probably 1 or 2 reviews from staff. You know, get your staff to leave you a review and say, you know, this is what it's like to work here.
Yeah, do a prize draw. Be like, everybody leave a review. We're going to select one person at random, win 50 quid, 100 quid. Or something.
I would caution that officially, because you're not allowed to bribe anyone to leave reviews on Google, or it can get you into really deep trouble. But you know, you can you know, it's up to you what you do in your own organizations. Officially, you're not meant to kind of give incentives to leave reviews, but you definitely should be acting to do that. And if you know, you can, it influences things, and you can make a way that people, I don't know. You can't do that, but officially. But yeah, I mean,
I had a question when Adam was speaking about word of mouth. What would you recommend, or would you advise for probably more so a home care company, or maybe a small care home that's got enough staff, they don't have a problem with recruiting, they've got enough customers or people that they support living there, they're making enough money, making enough profit, they don't want to they don't need anything, so they don't advertise, they don't market their business because everything's kind of going well. What would your advice be to that kind of company?
Yeah, like great position to be in. If you're oversubscribed and you actually don't want to expand or grow, all I would say is look at what changed in the last 3 years. So the whole landscape changed in the last 3 years. People that have never struggled to recruit ever are now struggling to recruit. People that have never had a bed empty have had half a home empty. So you can never get too complacent. We've taken on clients who they're in that sweet spot. They've got, you know, they're running at 80-90% capacity, and they're not super fussed about it, but they've got an old website, and they just, for some people, it's just about making sure that they remain relevant and current, because you can't wait until you're in crisis to fix it. Because if you're trying, as everybody now knows in the sector, if you wait until you can't recruit anybody to recruit, you're in total firefighting mode 24/7, because you haven't got the team to support you. So the people that should be recruiting are then diving in and supporting carers, and so it's just bedlam, and it's just this endless cycle. So you can't get complacent with it. You need to have a really robust recruitment system and a really robust marketing system that the recruitment system is part of, regardless of how well you're doing now. Because as the last sort of 3-4 years have shown us, everything can change in an instant. Like you said, Adam, I feel like we've gone through a major event or major life-changing event every week at the minute. So don't take anything for granted in terms of your systems.
I'm waiting for aliens. They're bound to be aliens or zombies.
Cherry
They're
on the
going
top,
to be the next one, aren't they? You know, we've had Game of Thrones recently. You know, we've got the thick of it, which is constantly going on in whatever happens in our parliament. It's either Hunger Games, aliens, or zombies. They're like one of the next 3 things we're going to live through as well.
You say that. I saw something, and you have to Google it because I saw it.
I will go down a rabbit hole if you tell me.
The Purge, you know the film The Purge? They're trialing that in America. I'm 90% sure it's Chicago or somewhere. They are trialing it.
So this is something to do with the fact, this is something to do with the fact that they're actually getting rid of bail monies for a number of felonies within America. So you don't actually, there's something really complicated about it, which I struggle to get my head around, because American law is something else. So I do struggle to fully understand it. But yeah, no, definitely interested in that. Right, so I want to go back to, I know, before we head off into sort of fringe, to the fringiest fringe, we should do like a special, shouldn't we? Just like a non-care related sort of down the rabbit hole.
The problem is you see these kind of things that you start telling somebody in your head, like even when I was telling you then, I was like, you sound like a complete wacko, don't you? You sound like kind of one of those conspiracy theorists, even though you kind of read it and you've seen it on the news.
It's happening though, you know, there is stuff that is happening which we have to be able to talk about without being shut down. Otherwise, everyone becomes compliant. 100%. Takes us through to World War II. You know, first I came for the socialists. I did not speak up because I was not a socialist. You know, all of that stuff. We've got to be able to have these healthy conversations, maybe laugh about it a little bit, but talk about it respectfully. But marketing. So I want to go back to, so we know what our ideal customer sort of profile is. We know who we want to market to. So I'm not going to, the medical center is going to phone me up, or whoever it is, and they're going to, or the hospital actually, and they're going to say, look, we've got this magazine and we want you to advertise in it, and it's going to go out to X, Y, and Z addresses. You think before you buy, because if they're not going to go out to your addresses that you're going to serve, then you're going to waste time answering the phone for all of this rubbish that actually it's just going to, use up all of your time.
Hey, we're from the local newspaper. We've got this last-minute deal. There's a week. You need to get back to us within 3 days. It's £500. It's usually £2,000, and you can put your ad in there, and you can just look at your sort of recruitment persona and go, is that person going to read this, or your ideal client, is that person going to read this? And if they are, can you convey that message in that medium, and is that going to reach them? Is that the most effective way? Because then you can sort of look at that against something else and go and make a decision and go, actually, I'm not sure if that is going to work. Maybe I'm better off printing, 200 flyers and hot footing it around the area that I'm in.
Exactly. So, I mean, but then that brings us down. So I'm trying to think of like tips for people who are watching this. So don't rush into it. Identify who your ICP is going to be. Your ideal client profile, so your ideal customer profile. So you've got that, which the areas are that you're going to look at, who you need to target. So next thing is, what's your demographic like in your area? So are you going to put your leaflets out in one area, or is actually like where I live, the areas are retirement areas? So yes, the clientele in this area need the care, but actually their relatives live in Hong Kong or London or Buckinghamshire. So how do you then market that moving forwards? But there's one that I want to talk about that people need to know about, but we always gloss over because it's boring as heck, and it's SEOs. So Alfie, what is an SEO? Why do we need to care about SEOs? And I'm sure there's a song called SEO or something, or is that SEO Trot? It's a book. It's a Roald Dahl book, isn't it? SEO Trot.
SEO Trot spells tortoise backwards. Great.
That's it. But we're not talking about tortoises. What is an SEO? Why should we care about SEO?
I was today years old when I learned. You didn't tell me you were going to ask me about SEO. It's actually a huge, massive part of what we do as a business, and we run sort of SEO campaigns for sort of much larger care organisations than we work with for our marketing packages. Right. The most accessible answer I can give you for this is SEO it's in 3 parts. And what is SEO? So SEO is getting to the top of Google. It's being found. It's online visibility. It stands for search engine optimization, and it's more important than you think, and also it's not everything as well. So it depends on your competition, what level you're playing at. If you're a new provider in an area that's quite saturated, you're probably not going to win at SEO straight away unless you've got thousands of pounds of budget. The 3 parts of SEO, if you want to appear further up on Google, if you want to, and also you need to be really clear, what do you want? Because people say, we want to be on top of Google. And okay, great. For what? For what do you want to be on top of Google? Oh, for everything. Like, no, that unless you've got billions of pounds to spend on and more money than your turnover of your organization is, you're not going to be on top of Google for everything. You need to be careful and choosy with what you want to be on top of. So, for example, if you're based in Southampton, care jobs in Southampton might be something you want to be on top of Google for, or at least on the first page. So this is why SEO is important, because if the best place to hide a dead body is on page 2 of Google, no one clicks through unless you're really on an information hunt and you're digging through. Nobody looks on page 2. So it's about getting to the top of Google and other search engines. But let's be honest, nobody like there's Bing and Ask Jeeves and all that. There's still like 0.1%
Sure Search, which my internet provider always diverts to. Bloody Yahoo search engine. Who uses that?
Edge, Microsoft Edge. Like, hello, not
is Ask Jeeves still around? I used to love Ask Jeeves.
I don't actually know.
Remember the paperclip on Microsoft Word? It's like a really random, give me throwback to like my
sort of insanely helpful, sort of little bit wired paperclip. Yeah, I've actually got a paperclip in my hands randomly. So yeah, Microsoft paperclip. We've gone down a rabbit hole already. So SEO. Get to the top of Google. There are 3 things you need to do. One is make sure that the structure of your website is right. Does it load quickly? Does it is the architecture of the website readable? And that's, I'm not going to go into that. That's for your web dev. That's for your technical person in your organization or the company that you've hired to do your website to know about the SEO. If they don't convince you that they know about SEO, don't, because web designers don't on the whole know marketing, unfortunately. And no offense to web designers out there. There's some great web designers out there, but generally web designers don't tend to understand marketing and SEO. Which is a shame, because they really a lot of them should, but a lot of them are single operators. They don't have a team, and it is multidisciplinary. Anyway, I'm rambling. The first step is making sure the structures. Does it load fast? Are the pages, if you get an empty page, does it redirect? There's all kinds of technical structural stuff behind it for your web person to deal with. Don't worry about that. If you ever get to the point where you're talking about that, make sure the person you hire can convince you that they understand the technical SEO. Then there's the on-site SEO. So the second part is what's on your website, what's on your landing page, what is the content that's written there? Does it have your keywords in, care jobs in location? Does it have home care in location or care home in location? In there, is it thought out? Is it optimized? Have you tagged the images? So the alt tags go on images. Again, website person should know this. If they don't know what you're talking about in terms of alt tags, fire them. Come talk to us. Alt tags, is it linked to have you put content on your website like blogs that links up to your main recruitment page? So for all our clients, we write content around what's it like to be a carer, what's different topics that people might Google, and then they all link to the main recruitment page, and that's your on-site SEO. Most people don't do that. And it's a shame, because if you do that steadily, you rise to the top of Google. However, there's a third part, which is the hardest part, which is why people can spend thousands of pounds on SEO, which is getting high quality backlinks. And this is about the network that you've built up. So when I say high quality backlinks, I mean other websites linking back to your website. So if I get a link back from a sort of spam website, some kind of rubbish sales website that's kind of selling widgets and is just like, I don't know, it's not really something you'd want to end up on. You've ended up there as a clicked ad, and then it links you back to your page. That's bad SEO, because that's a low. It's mirrored, so it's weird. My hands aren't the right way around. Anyway, it's low. So strange. It's low quality links, and that's called a domain score. And in a nutshell, it's very hard to explain SEO in a way that I feel is really accessible. It's one of my jobs to think about soon. But basically, you want links from good websites. So The Guardian, for example, dare I say even something, well, not a good website, but high domain authority score, like Telegraph, for example, might have a high domain authority score. I won't talk about the quality of the content. The Mirror, or any large organization, Forbes, something like that. If you can get a backlink from Forbes with a domain authority of 90, that's going to lift you through the rankings. So yeah, there's a lot you can do on your website to do the structure, but once you've done all that, and if you're still not appearing on page one, if you're still not getting enough traffic to your site, either you want to look at paid ads, which is like you pay for it and you get traffic to your site, and as soon as you stop paying, you stop getting the traffic, which is, if you're an organization that needs things to happen fast, that's a great way to go. And then SEO is a more sustainable way. And if you do a full SEO campaign, if you go on a full strategy with it, you will need to generate backlinks. And really, that's the domain of there's very few people I know operating in the sector. We do it, and we've built over a long time a network of people who we can trade with something to get them to promote and create backlinks. That is also, there's a strict set of criteria. It needs to be what you call white hat SEO. It needs to, sorry, I don't know if I've lost everybody by now.
It's definitely lost me.
All right, cool. It's getting links. So
you what I'm hearing in my head, and I'm thinking as a provider now. Sorry, Mark, just quickly though. I'm just thinking in my head as a provider, and I'm not plugging the Institute by any means whatsoever, but I am introducing a guest blog for the Institute. But let's say you are a provider and you get an email that says, actually, we want some blogs from people. Can you blog, write us something? We'll feature on our website. We'll link back to you. Send your stories out, connect with people, interact with people, engage with your local authority. That engagement is so key, because if you can get yourself slapped onto their website or onto their blog or onto their social media, you'll always get that backflow back, won't you? I mean, conversely, let's say something really bad happens at your home. It's going to take you ages to get rid of that story in the search optimization. Been there, done that. We had a horrific story at a care home I used to work at. It was, anyway, and it took years for that to disappear. But once you've got rid of that and that work's gone into it, it benefits you. So just engage with people. That's a really good start, isn't it, to get those links and those connections?
Yeah, it's very basic. It's networking, but it's a very specific, very like you can get links from websites that are called what we call no follow links, and they're no good. So if you get an article in the Guardian Online and there's a link back, but it's a no follow link, you might get traffic, but your SEO score won't improve that much. You want to get follow links. So it's one of the things that I would say, marketing is not that difficult. You can do most of this stuff yourself or with a bit of help from an outsourced team or from, somebody that you trust to do this stuff. But SEO is something that takes decades to get your head around. It's not, and it changes all the time as well. So what's true today might not be true in 2 weeks because of an algorithm change. And so if my advice to anybody considering SEO is, first of all, make sure you get your website built, or the next time you redo it, you go to a company that really understands SEO. Most website companies don't, so make sure you drill them. They're likely to cost a bit more. They're not going to be your £700. My mate's cousin does it. They're not going to be cheap websites because it takes a lot of energy to get an SEO optimized website. But it's worth it because the traffic you'll lose is going to be way more than £2,000-3,000 that you spend on a good website, extra that you spend. What was the other thing?
Basically, pay for it.
Yeah, basically, don't try and learn SEO to go. So make sure your website's built right and put content on it that's useful. And if you can do guest blogs on other people, and that's about the base. That's about as much as I would recommend the care provider goes down that rabbit hole. If you're looking at serious SEO, it involves so many different factors. There's like 300 plus different factors that can improve your search engine results. And you're not going to be able to learn that in a day.
And do you still offer your SEO audit for people that are interested? Yeah,
we do. If anybody's seriously interested in a full SEO campaign, we're talking, 1K plus starting price. It's not it's for your kind of mid-level or larger providers. They're looking to kind of dominate for things like care jobs in location or living care in location or whatever it is that you want to be ranking first for. The alternative is look at content, and we also do content, and that's it's about maybe half that per month, and that will make a dent. It will definitely help. But if you're really serious about we want to be on page one or near the top of page one for this term, locally or even nationally, we've run national campaigns and got people to the top of page one, number one, page one for terms like living care, and it's an investment for sure, but it's all ROI based. So if anybody's seriously interested in SEO, we do a free audit. And if anybody just wants to know a bit more and is just like, we want more traffic to the website, I want to talk about website, I'm always happy to talk to people and share what I know.
Great, thank you very much.
I think it's really important. And I just want to explain why we've just spoken about SEOs, because I know it sounds like we've just had 20 minutes of conversation and actually we've just said pay for it, don't do it. But it's really important because I've been in the position before I learned all of this, and I'm no SEO expert at all, although I've built our own websites and, I've managed to help get us up those rankings in my previous roles. I'm no expert, and I've been in that position where I've gone, but I've got a Facebook page, I've got a Twitter, I've got an Instagram, I've got a website, and I'm posting constantly, and my content's there, and I'm continuous. I'm not letting it slack, but I'm still not doing what I need to do. I'm still not pulling the traffic. What the heck is wrong? And it was SEOs. Yeah. And don't beat yourself up if something's not working, but you've got your social medias and you are, putting your stories out there, and you are putting your posts out there, and you are online, and you are doing everything that you think you can do, and you're still not pulling that traffic. Check your SEOs, consult with someone. If you've done everything yourself and you've saved that money there, invest a little bit. If it's that important and you need the traffic coming through, just invest in it. Don't be disheartened that you're not getting that traffic coming through. Just focus on it.
And most companies don't need like thousands and thousands of pounds in budget a month to fix a problem like that. Usually it's either the website's not quite been built correctly, or they're just not creating content, or they're in an area that's really saturated already, and maybe they're not got the, you know, they're a smaller provider and they're in an area that's very saturated anyway. They've got, you know, homecare.co.uk, and then they've got loads of providers below them, and then directories, and then individual providers and maps listings, and they just yeah, I mean, the things you can do to try and get on the maps listing, that's a totally different game that we can talk about, to do with being on directories and things like that. But it don't yeah, maybe there's also the scenario that maybe that's not the main channel for you, because if you're a small provider in a really saturated area where page 1.5 is full up and solid, you know, you should definitely slowly try and work on that. Maybe redo your website, add some content, but be aware sometimes that you're not going to win that game, and that's literally because of your competition. The way that you win that way is by thinking outside the box. Maybe you go to car boot sales and you set up a stall, and you know, you tell people about what you do there in places that other people aren't. You know, when you're getting face to face in the community, and you're that's how you win. But that's a last case resort for people that are in really saturated markets.
Start a rumor. Go to church. Did you know? Oh, our Ethel was there, and did you know?
Guerrilla marketing, yeah. Nice.
I am very conscious that we have just hit the hour mark, which, yeah, I don't know where the hour's gone. One last question from me, Alfie. Are there any free resources or websites that you could recommend for people just starting out, maybe for their social media and bits and pieces, especially when it comes to a logo maker? I see a lot of posts around people wanting support for logos.
Yeah, I can't hand on heart advocate for logo makers. I think, again, it's that brand piece that most people don't think is important, that actually is the most important thing you'll ever do. It's worth just spending the money. If, you know, you can get a good logo made from a company, or work with a company that does it as part of a package for, you don't need to spend like thousands and thousands on it, but you do need to spend on it. If you're right at the start and it's a test, you know, great. Logo makers, it's not something I advise, so I don't have any to mind, but you can Google logo makers and it'll pull one up, so you can just have something to get you started and create a social media page and that kind of thing. But bear in mind that is just to get you started, and you really need to consider, you need to know your audience, you need to know your message, and then how your brand looks as well is important. Does it appear well on print and digital? Will it look if you're going to put it on uniforms? You need to consider these things, and a lot of people create logos and they're like, oh, that's really complicated, or this isn't going to work. So it's worth putting the time and energy into that. But to get started, really, you want to do that thing, and it's going to be, I've actually recorded the workshop. Probably the workshop that I've just recorded for you, Adam, is going to be a good place to start. Once I finish recording the last bit, and just go through that brand process with yourself. Who it is you're targeting, get really clear. What is your message that makes you stand out? And then from there, start to think about channels. And it is, you know, if you don't have the budget to spend on marketing, you're really bootstrapping it. It is just a case of doing the basics right. Get your Google reviews sorted. Make sure you're building that every single week. Someone's checking it and responding to reviews. Make sure your website has your key message on it. Make sure, you know, that your content is aimed at and use yours language. Make sure that it's directed and is, you know, and get people to check it. You know, it's good to have an outside perspective on things. But yeah, doing the basics right. So, I mean, I could talk about loads of different complicated things that you could do for your marketing, but 90% of care operators out there aren't doing the basics right. So Google my business, website, write some content, you know, stick it on a blog on your site. That's will put you ahead of 90% of care providers.
Thank you very much.
No, and I just want to also just say to people, Canva is wonderful. We love Canva here at the Caring View. We use Canva because actually it's cheaper than paying a monthly subscription to Photoshop, which, you know, they saved me a good chunk of money cancelling it. However, the images you use on Canva are copyrighted to Canva and their respective parties who created them. So you may very well be able to go on and use their logo maker. You just cannot copyright it. You cannot earn money. Earn money through it. It's not an official logo. You could not brand that and then go, this is a copyrighted logo for myself. So just think about that if you're going to run over to Canva and do something. Canva's great for mock-ups.
Canva's great. Our team uses it
Yeah.
for quick jobs. You know, we've got top-end graphic designers. Sometimes they just, you know, quick job. It's
The
easy
best
to
thing
do
on
in
Canva is the background remover. I mean, that is revolutionary. The background remover for photos is absolutely revolutionary. I think it's wonderful. Anyway, we could talk all night on this, believe it or not. I know that sounds utterly sad, but marketing is sexy. Marketing is important. Marketing's definitely sexy when we've got Alfie with us as well. Can we just, you know, now that 48-hour fast is doing wonders for you, Alfie. So, you know, keep at it. Keep at it. Anyone who wants to hear more from Alfie, please do go check out his website. Join us at the Care Show on the 12th and 13th of October. Alfie will be talking on a panel there. Am I right, Alfie?
Someone's deigned it fit for me to be on the recruitment. What is it? The recruitment masterclass on the Thursday on the panel with Big Ian Donaghy's going to be chairing it. So that's going to be fun.
Not to be missed then. Literally not to be missed. So come
Can't
down
wait.
and check us out at the Care Show. It will be free. Next week, Mark, do you know what we are? Do you want me to go with it?
Yes, you go with it.
Next week we are joined by a regular guest of ours, Amanda Griffiths, and also Troy Zimbalati from T something Care. And I apologise, it's slipped my mind right now. But we are going to be talking work-life balance, which is incredibly important because the amount of people I've had conversations with this week who've gone, yes, I'll come to that meeting. I am on holiday, but I'll make it work. No, work-life balance is super important. I went to my old care company the other day just to say hi to people, and they were talking, and she was, you know, I'm really busy, and she's like, oh, she's really good, you know, and she's always on the phone no matter when you need it. And I had a quiet word and said, look after yourself. It's not healthy. Work-life balance is super important. So we will be bringing that to you next week, which is going to be super exciting, and I can't wait. I'm now going to go onto TikTok and lose myself for a couple of hours now on fringe science and politics. I won't agree with most of it, and I'll get myself really irate, but it's going to be interesting. Have a good evening, both Alfie and Mark, and we will see you next week.
Thank you very much, Alfie, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you. See you later.